We often picture sharing deeply held religious beliefs with a friend as a stressful ordeal, a situation where you sit across a table, palms sweating, worried that pushing the topic will ruin the relationship. But leading someone to Christ is an experience I've found to be genuinely fun and exciting. The process relies on two distinct elements: God's love and God's power. When these two circles overlap, you can bridge a spiritual gap without the usual friction. I recently met up with a guy I had been wanting to hang out with for a while. We sat down for a casual dinner to catch up. Throughout the meal, I had a specific goal in mind. I wanted to find a way to get my points across and talk about God. Moving from a conversation about daily life into the gospel creates a difficult pivot, a sort of social vacuum that can feel forced if not handled correctly. Navigating that moment successfully depends on a foundation of genuine care for the person, rather than treating them as a project to be completed. During dinner, the conversation shifted. I began talking about God and the gospel of Jesus Christ. This initial phase was centered on the core message of the gospel and the concept of God's love. My friend was receptive and he was listening, but the dialogue stayed on a largely intellectual, surface level. Discussing theology and love is a necessary start, but it often isn't enough to reach past a person's deeply entrenched personal barriers. We had reached a plateau. He understood the concepts, but the conversation needed a personal, experiential catalyst to move forward. That catalyst arrived in the form of a word of knowledge, a specific, supernatural insight into his life. I sensed a prompt from the Lord and decided to take the risk. I told him exactly what I was sensing. He was visibly shocked. He told me that no one knew about the specific things I had just described. The previous surface-level politeness vanished. He immediately began sharing the details of his life and the struggles he was facing. I brought that display of power back to the message of love, telling him simply, "It's God. He loves you." When supernatural power validates a message of love, defensive barriers fracture, opening the way for transformation. After that revelation, the atmosphere changed. We were in a space of trust and clarity. I moved to a direct invitation, asking him, "Do you want to accept Jesus?" He gave a simple and unhesitating yes. Because the groundwork of love and the experience of power were already established, the invitation followed as a natural progression of the evening. This suggests that evangelism doesn't need to rely on sterile debates or high-pressure tactics. Spiritual conversion thrives on authentic relationships that utilize both love and power. Ultimately, this is exactly how lives can change for the better, one person and one conversation at a time. When you approach it this way, leading people to Christ isn't a heavy burden. It's an exciting journey to share.